Good evening. Happy Wednesday. I hope it's been a tremendously wonderful week for you. I hope that you have connected with people that you love and that you have connected with that still small voice within you. And I hope that you have connected with Spirit, because that'll get you through a whole bunch of other stuff every time. Hi, Heidi. Glad you're here. First one. How unusual. I'm so pleased that you're here, and I'm always so pleased that you're the first one. It just makes me happy. That's happy making. So thank you for that. So how are you? What's going on in your life? How's the week going so far? Good Wednesday, Brenda. Glad you're here. Good evening, Dana. My goodness. Up at once. Tina says, I'm here. Where's the wine? I don't know. Where did you hide it? I don't have any yet, but I'm going to be working on it after the hour. I want to be able to think clearly, always. Especially when I'm talking to you guys, because you're all so sharp. You'd catch me if I flubbed. I know you would. Good week. Yes, good week. Good week. It has been a good week. It has been an interesting week. Not necessarily in that old Chinese proverb kind of way, just interesting. Lots of stuff going on. Shh, Heidi. I always know where the wine is. Yeah, I do. It's a gift. It's a gift, knowing where the wine is. So Tina's got some room for improvements in the week. Okay, well, I guess we probably all do. I mean, if we could do it all better. Kat just finished her on-air show with a woman named Servet Hassan.
Yep.
Am I doing that right?
Yep.
And Servet is an interesting person all unto herself, and has a really interesting long story. And Kat asked her a question that made me just stop and think for a while. One of the things that Servet has overcome is cancer. And she said, you know, if you could wave a magic wand is my equivalent of what you said, would you do your life without the cancer? And I didn't hear the answer, because I'm on one side of this two-sided conversation. But I thought, what an interesting question. And I'm going to guess that her answer was she would keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said she learned more in the past 3 years after cancer than she has in the 30 leading up to it.
I hope you heard that. If you didn't, what Kat said is that the woman, Servet, said that she has learned more in the 3 years since cancer than she did in the 30 years leading up to it. Interesting. Sometimes our greatest challenges are our greatest gifts. I'm going to talk a little about that tonight, as it turns out. Without knowing that that question was being asked, and without knowing that it was going to absolutely stop me in my tracks. Brenda's in quarantine. Why are you in quarantine, sweetheart? Talk to me. Positive movement in the job department. Okay. Oh, Heidi, you always find a job, and it's always wonderful. You amaze me. You have worked in some of the most interesting places, doing some of the most interesting work. You're just a phenomenon in my book. And I don't phenom easily, necessarily. Oh, did I use the right verb? I think I did. I made one up, is what I did. To phenom. Positive movement in the right direction. Yay. Brenda, I want to hear about that quarantine. Type faster. No, you're just fine. I'm just always a little bit ahead of where you are. I don't know why live isn't live. I suppose it's so that Facebook can step in and go, you can't say that, and do something about it. Um, you don't have to be humbled, darling. It's just true.
Oh.
Oh, one of Brenda's caregivers has COVID. All right, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Are you feeling all right? I need to know. And then we will put you and the caregiver in prayer. How about that? Why don't we do that? Hold on. Okay. All right. I have it written down. Once I write something down, it's like mine forever. But if I don't write it down, it's mine for about 20 seconds. So please just know if I'm writing, it's because I want to remember. Okay, so you're feeling fine, yay, and you go for the test on. That should give you some time to kind of work it out and see where you really are. I got my shot. Did I tell you all that already? I have a Band-Aid on it with those little cute round things that looks like it shouldn't be a Band-Aid at all. But I don't think I did because Cac asked me after the last time we talked if I told everybody I got my shot, and I went, it just didn't come up. So I am inoculation 1, and get, I guess, in 3 weeks, and get the second shot, and then there'll be no stopping me. Well, actually, and then probably very little is that because the rest of the world isn't there yet. But it is a relief, and it was a wonderful experience. That's all I can tell you. I never waited in a line, just kept moving forward, and until I was plunked down in a chair next to a nurse from Florida, and she was delightful. And I got my shot, and by the time my appointment time actually came up, I had a 1:30 appointment. At 1:30, I was sitting in the waiting area. So, yeah, let's know that you get the shot, Brenda. I want to see that happen. Socrates is doing much better. Thank you for asking, Tina. He is doing much better. We were very worried. He was not being well, and it wasn't like him at all. And now he's eating again. He didn't eat for 4 days. But he's eating again, and he's coming back downstairs again instead of hiding upstairs. And he has encountered the puppies a couple of times and just kind of goes, oh, what's that? And he's being pretty cool, our Socrates. So thank you for asking. I appreciate that. He's our rag doll. Yeah, kitten whitefish and Bach flower remedies. Cac's doing the Bach flower remedies, and I'm doing the kitten whitefish. He's all of a sudden really hooked on kitten food. And I'm not arguing with him because if it's making him feel better and he's up and around, great. And he's not stealing the kitten's food. He's just waiting for his own dish of kitten food. So it's going very well. Thank you all for caring. Brenda, let me know how the test goes, please, so that we keep the prayers current. We got to take care of our girls. Yes, we do. So, how's your week going? Are any of you, I hope some of you, well, I hope all of you, are participating in the 64 Days for Nonviolence? This is day 5. And the theme today is believing. Isn't that interesting for a Wednesday night? I like that. We've been through smiling and courage and all manner of other things, but the theme today is believing, and it's what we're all about, isn't it? So I invite you, if you haven't jumped on board yet, to do so. To all you have to do is check right back here. I post the new one every day. You have to read down a little bit because other things pop up in between. But it has the date and the day and which one of the days it is, and a thought, the word for the day, a quote that supports that, and then an activity. So come on, join us. You might make the world a more peaceful place. Could that hurt? Could that hurt? I don't think so. And I think the world needs your support. Well, Tina hasn't killed anybody yet today. I assume that's today. I know some days it's a challenge. CAC always has lists. I'm not going to say I don't, but my list at least isn't as long as hers is. So, and people go on and off it, don't they? It's just kind of nice to have a list. I like making lists. So, I don't see Jennifer and I don't see Kirk yet.
Or Donna.
Or Donna. But they may show up yet. Or Susan. All right, people.
Or Jefferson.
Or Jefferson. Well, Jefferson sometimes works on Wednesday nights. Of course, so does Kirk. I miss him when he works on Wednesday nights. I like having him here. He's a good energy. Oh, Tina's list is for the week. Tina, it's only Wednesday. That's the point. Okay. I gotcha. I gotcha. So, I'm kind of excited about tonight's talk. I wasn't when I started, and then I added something, and then I got excited. So, why don't I just kind of launch into it, and we'll see where it goes. I want to see what Tina says. So, I've been noodling. In the back of my mind, I haven't been able to shake the inauguration. Yeah, I know it was a couple of weeks ago. But, well, for me, one of the most moving moments during the inauguration was the poet Amanda, a self-proclaimed skinny black girl. It's in the poem. This little thing that looked like she was maybe 12, but then a lot of people look like they're 12 to me these days, took the poem, and from the moment she opened her mouth, I couldn't take my eyes off of her, or my ears. I'm not going to read all that she said. I'm sure I couldn't do it justice. But let me read some of it. She was talking about America and democracy, and she said, "We are far from polished, far from pristine. But that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge a union with purpose. To compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek to harm none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That will forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. She went on. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promise to glade, the hill we climb. If only we dare. It's because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. Speaking to the insurrection of January 6th, which she said was her inspiration, she wrote, "We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith, we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us." And then she threw out a challenge. This is the era of just redemption we feared at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. Excuse me. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. And then, in what felt very much to me like an echo of the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, she revealed her vision. So let us leave a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world to a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if we're only brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Amanda's words were courageous. And they told us that although we call ourselves a democracy, we are, in fact, a democracy becoming, a work in progress. Recent history is evidence that her words were right on. I pray those words were also prophetic. Her vision is beautiful. You know, as metaphysicians, we get the power of our words. We study it. It's primary in our belief. And so we learn all the right words. We attempt to speak all the right words, to think all the right thoughts. But it sometimes seems that life itself is at cross purposes to our words. John Redhead, in Putting Your Faith to Work, wrote, as soon as you matriculate in the University of Life, you discover that one of the required courses is called trouble. I wonder if that's required. Well, I suspect it is. We grow that way, don't we? Ernest Holmes, who is my go-to person for solutions, wrote that the entire problem of limitation, of evil, suffering, and uncertainty is not God ordained, but is the result of ignorance. Okay, so thinking about words, here's a new affirmation for us. Now I'm not just suffering, I'm stupid. As if we didn't have enough problems. Eric Fromm in You Shall Be as Gods, I love the title, has a Hasidic master say, God did not say that it was good after creating man. I looked it up, he didn't. This indicates that while the cattle and everything else, including the creeping things, were finished after being created, man was not. He was and is a work in progress. And therein lies my premise. Not wrong, not evil, not sinful or sunk or stupid or not brilliant, just not yet finished. Which leads me to believe that the purpose of our challenges, of our burdens, of our frustrations, may be to polish the rough edges to assist us in our finishing. Abraham Heschel wrote in Who is Man? It is usually in the wake of frustration, in moments of crisis and self-disillusionment, and rarely out of astonishment at man's glorious achievements, that radical reflection comes to pass. And I realize that when we stop to think, especially radical thinking, which suggests that it's thought that's different than the way we normally think, we may just discover what we've been missing. Something important, something that is, in fact, exactly what is causing our trials and tribulations. See, when the going gets tough, I think the smart start thinking. And sometimes, if it's really tough, we start thinking about real solutions, which just may take us to thinking about God. Or at least the possibility that God might be listening, and if listening, may be willing to do something about whatever is going on in our lives in that moment or that week. And therein we discover that if we are really paying attention, that the God that we have been waiting for to solve our problems has been waiting for us all along. You know, Jesus, who said a lot of really comforting and wonderful things, also said, "In the world ye shall have tribulation." See that? He promised us trouble. But he also said, "Be of good cheer." What? Yeah, how does that work? If we're stuck with tribulation, why should we be of good cheer? Why not mope and pout and kick our heels and... See, here's the point, my friends. I think he knew that what we must come to know is that just beyond the trials, just beyond the tribulation and the burden, is the solution. Just beyond it. The salvation, the light in the darkness. Just beyond our confusion is certainty. Just beyond our pain is comfort. Just beyond our loss is a more abundant life. But we have to stop the pity party long enough to think. We must stop to consider, and we must stop to remember. Then when we have considered, when we remember, rejoin, we are lifted up, healed, relieved. Yes, you will have tribulation, challenges, disquiet, frustration. That's life. And at the same time, you can still be of good cheer. That's the promise. Earnest again. All things work for our good. Suffering, he says, should teach us a lesson that would cause us to refrain from making more mistakes or making the same mistake again and again. Or suffering, builds our strength to do what we were born to do. The point is, whatever it is, the tribulation, it carries a blessing with it when we learn to garner knowledge or strength from the experience. If all we do is complain, then we learn nothing, and guess what? It's going to be back around again. You all know the butterfly analogy. The butterfly has to struggle to escape its cocoon. It's part of its life process. Because without the strength and the life-giving fluids that work their way into its wings during the struggle, the butterfly would never do anything but crawl. It's like enforced physical training. Just as children, we learn not to play with fire once we have been burned. We must come to understand that we don't always have to learn that way, though we often do. So, if we find ourselves at the edge, suffering or carrying a great burden that just does not seem to want to be laid down, might we not be wise to discover the beliefs that brought us to that point? Especially if we've been there before. I've told this story before, but just in case any of you ever missed it. A client of mine one time who was there for counseling on the edge of his 5th divorce finally said, Marlene, I think I've got it. He said, I finally realized that in all of these marriages and now all of these divorces, the common denominator was me. What he needed then was to look at what thinking, what beliefs he was holding that was creating the same thing, the same pattern repeating itself over and over again in his life. For all of us, our salvation lies in our understanding of our true nature, our awareness that we are created in the image and likeness of God the Unlimited, God the Creator, God the first and only cause. If we know this, we not only survive our burdens and our trials and our tribulations, but we are made greater by them. We are propelled by them into a closer and deeper realization and understanding of our own divinity and our own power. And that, my friends, is when change happens, individually and collectively. Alfred North Whitehead made the observation that every act leaves the world with a deeper or a fainter impress of God. Let us choose to make a deeper, closer impress of God on our world. The way to do that is to welcome God in, to drink God in, if you will. To let it be at the forefront of our minds at all times. That takes practice. We're not raised that way, most of us. And those who were raised that way were too often raised that way with the wrong God. Saint Cyprian said, when I had drunk the Spirit from heaven, doubts began to be resolved, closed doors to be opened, dark places to be light. What before was difficult now seemed easy. What a difference an awareness of God can make in our lives. We spend so much time thinking about, concentrating on, and trying to figure out the things that are wrong in our life. What if we spent half that time thinking about the one thing that is so very right that nothing can stand against it? Our ignorance of our own divinity, then, after all, is what causes us to suffer. Not our lack of book learning or our lack of understanding of the times, but our lack of understanding of who we are. And then when we fill that lack with faith, when we drink in spirit, when we fill ourselves with an understanding of our true nature, the suffering stops. Perhaps becomes a lesson or a motivator or something we can understand and live creatively with. The very fact of our remembering, rejoining, the very fact of our finding faith heals. When we believe, when we know, when we connect, when we join our minds and our lives with creation itself, we simply become incapable of being less than we are. Times can be hard, and hard times call for people of faith. Hard times call for the faith of the people. Andrew Greeley once wrote, "Despair is at the root a form of infidelity and self-destruction. It is the refusal to have faith. It is the refusal to believe. It creates suffering." But there is something within us that urges us to keep on. Isn't there something that urges us to let go of our misery? Although we may spend a good deal of time in it and talk a lot about it, there is still something within us that wants us to release it. We can persist in our despair, in our complaints, in our frustration. We can continue to cry, "Why me? Why this? Why now?" Or we can turn our attention in faith to God. But there's a caveat here. We have to remember that faith is more than mere words. It is living with the conviction that God is good and absolutely, infinitely present. All the pretty words in pretty times or even pretty rhymes are pretty worthless if we do not, in our heart of hearts, believe them and then act accordingly. It means stepping up in faith in spite of our fears. Moving forward when everything seems to be conspiring to hold us back. Believing, even in the darkness, that the light will prevail. That makes us stronger. And that makes the difference. It's practicing the presence when we seem most alone that pays off in the most wondrous ways. All our trials ultimately are caused by our own lack of understanding, but serve the purpose for which they have come if we are willing to learn of creating evidence of the presence of God. When we step out of the darkness, we find a light waiting. We discover that we were never alone. We were never by ourselves. And we discover that our lives and everything in them, in every moment, are a gift, a present that reveals an intimacy with the infinite, a very real, very available God that is ready at any moment to take us and make us whole. On January 20th, a 22-year-old black woman stood at a podium and spoke truth to a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. Her words. Her words were courageous. May your words be that courageous. We identify ourselves as children of God. We are, each of us, in fact, a child of God becoming, a work in progress. I believe with all of my heart that our words are our destiny. I pray that our words are also prophetic. In the book of Genesis, I found these words. I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me. We become what we believe. Our experience is our teacher. Our life is our evidence. Though for now you may be a work in progress, when the time comes in the highest court of all, may you be found exceedingly guilty of being a creator, a healer, a builder, a caretaker, a lover of mankind and of nature. May you simply be found guilty of being a child of God. Well, there now, I have said what I came to say. I always love to read what you wonderful people write while I'm talking. Heidi, I have a question for you. What if it burns? You've been burnt before. You know how to avoid being burned. And it's not to not have the coffee. Think on these things. I have such a feeling, Heidi, that you are on the edge of such a breakthrough and that it's going to be momentous. Now's the time to pray, to stay centered, to be faithful, to believe. You're right there. You're right there. I almost want to cry. I feel so strongly about this. So don't give up on you now. Be willing to be courageous. And you are. I know you to be. I know all of you to be courageous. You're listening to me. That alone. You're here on a Wednesday night. Most of you are on Sunday as well. That takes courage. This is not what your parents were raised with. This is probably not what you were raised with. It takes courage. You got that. Now just apply it where needed. Hi, Lainey. Glad you're here, darling. Yeah, Brenda, don't feel bad, darling. I just discovered that I could put things on TV. We got a new TV. Now, we didn't used to have a smart TV. We had kind of a dumb TV, I guess. It did a few things, but it didn't do much, and it was well over 10 years old. And we got a new one because the old one started getting bars in it, just big black bars that wouldn't go away. And anyone we talked to about it who knew that kind of thing said, go buy a new one. It's not worth getting it fixed. So we got a new TV. Long story short, we got a new TV and a smart TV because we were smart enough to know we needed a smart TV. And I was just fooling around with it and discovered that there was YouTube. And the next thing I know, there I was on my television because we have a YouTube channel, and there I was. So I post the Wednesday and the Sunday talks, the YouTube channel, which is Marlene Morris channel. There's a couple of Marlene Morrises, as it turns out. I can't wait to meet one of the gals. I post them on the YouTube channel like right after they're live. When we close down, I download the MP4 and then I upload that to YouTube. The whole thing takes maybe 20 minutes, if that. And then it's on the YouTube channel. So you can always watch it there as well, which means it's easy to put me on your TV if you have a smart TV. But Brenda, if your phone is asking you if you want to watch this on TV, you can probably do that. You're probably. My phone has never asked me that before. Now I'm offended. I'm going to have a talk with my phone. Oh, it is always so good to be with you. So good to be with all of you. Okay, so Brenda's got a smart TV, so yes, you can. And I don't know how you take it from Facebook and do it live, but I'm sure it's not complicated. What fun! Now I'm on television. Now, those of you who've been around for a long time know that that is, in fact, the realization of a dream. Not just mine. Several people who came to Spirit Works had that vision, and we just could never quite make it happen. But now it's easy. It's easy. The vision of being on television and speaking to who knows how many people has come true. And I almost missed it because I didn't have a smart TV. Actually, what set me off was one night, Kirk said on a Wednesday night, I think, well, I'm watching you on my TV. And I went, well, yeah, okay, fine. He's, got a smart TV and he knows how to do all of that. But it's stuck in there. And then the light bulb went off. We are, all of us, a work in progress. All of us. What a delightful thing to be. When I went to ministerial school, I had cards made up. And it was a folded card. I've never had a folded card before or since, but at the time, I had a folded card. And it was, when it was folded, it was the size of a regular business card, but it had like a tab on it. You could open it up like a book, and had the basic information on the outside, so anybody could read it. But if you opened it up, it said "Minister Unfolding." And I loved that card, and people commented on it a lot. And I said, well, it's a process, and I'm not through the whole process yet. So although in my heart I am a minister, and in practice I am a minister, in law I am not yet, but I am unfolding. I may have to go back to that. Godling unfolding. That's for Lainey's sake. Well, that's the whole point, Tina. Yeah. Sometimes things manifest in ways other than what we expected. Expected that in order to be on television, I would have to be sitting someplace with a television camera on me, which I guess in fact I am right now. But that's my little webcam. Here's my cozy little webcam. It's not a great big television camera, but it reaches more people than I ever did with the big television cameras pointed at me. We have to pay attention, don't we? Oh, God. Heidi's going to see me in VR. That's scary. Closing song. Are you going to post a new song for us?
Mm-hmm.
The tech department is working on tonight's closing song, which probably means I should be working on tonight's closing prayer instead of gabbing about television. Can you imagine that in the 1800s, the director of the Invention Bureau, Patent Office, said that they should close the place that could be invented had been? Can you imagine? In the 1800s. What more? What more is coming? What more can we be a part of? What more can we support? Takes courage to do that. Yeah, the webcam's an interesting thing, Heidi. Isn't it? It says the webcam can bring you to the world with one click. Heidi, we're going to have to go out for some hot coffee. One of these days, sweetheart, one of these days. Okay, let's pray. Let's pray. You know the drill. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If not, just soft focus so that your attention is going within. So that you're not distracted by all the colors and shapes and forms and stuff that is yet to be done. It'll wait. It'll wait. It always waits. The stuff never goes away till you tell it to. And let us take this precious time to become aware of the presence of something greater than we are. Something that is the essence of everything. The power behind everything. The life within everything. The presence and the power and the glory and the wonder. that out of which springs everything that brings us awe and joy and beauty. And it is, even at this very moment, unfolding in creative and mysterious and wonderful ways in and through each and every one of us, because we are that expressing. We are the joy of God, the love of God, the beauty of God, the creativity of God expressing here on earth. We are that. We must know that. We must believe that with all of our hearts and all of our minds, so that we may in fact express that in each of our lives. And so I know for each of us tonight that there is light. There is awareness. There is a sense within us that what we say we believe is true. That the God who made the heavens and the earth and all the wonder has made us as well. And we are not finished, not even finished, but simply God unfolding, God expressing. We are a work in progress, and everything that has come before this moment has prepared us to step forward now into an even more miraculous, more wonderful, more exciting, more loving, more precious life. We are the thing itself, expressing as our individual selves in ways that no one else could possibly do or be. We were made to be what we are, and what we are becoming. We are a work in progress. An exciting, beautiful, wonderful, creative work in progress. And I claim for each of us now that we are whole and we are healed. We are lifted up, we are inspired, and we are motivated by a God that knows only good. Not only does the universe have our back, but God is calling us forward, and we must and we do answer the call. And in answering, we are blessed. And our life reflects that. We are honored to be who we are. We have work to do. And knowing that God is with us and for us, we courageously step forward to do what we are here to do. And we are blessed beyond measure. The gifts of the Spirit pour over us. And we accept each and every one. We are a work in progress. And the work is going very, very well. And we let that be so. And so it is. Thank you for being here with us, Paul. It's a good night, to be followed by a really good day. Brenda, I hold you in my heart and my thoughts, and your caretaker as well. Tina, I think the week will turn around now. We're moving along. I love you all. I thank you for being here. I'll see you on Sunday.